Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with They Gave the Premiere and Made Recordings of the Work that they premiered. Oh, this is a really cool one. It's one that's near and dear to my heart because I love this composer. The composer is Martinu, and the pianist in this case is the great Czech pianist Rudolf Firkušny. And the works are Piano Concertos 2, 3, and 4. All three of them. Firkušny gave the world premieres of all three of them. And the year before he died, when he was 81 years old, he made this recording with the Czech Philharmonic and Libor Pešek of all three concerti, which is like really great because they are marvelous, marvelous works. You know, the relationship between Firkušny and Martinu was a very close one. They were good friends. He had an amazing pedigree. You know, people don't think about it. He's not a pianist that people talk about that often, you know, as the great 20th century pianist and all that, but he was certainly one of them. And his career was based mostly in his later life in New York. He taught at Juilliard, had many, many piano students, but what an upbringing he had. His first teacher was Czech. For about 9 years, between the ages of 5 and 14, he was a student of Czech. I think it was more of an informal than formal relationship, but then he went to a regular conservatory, and he actually had lessons with Arthur Schnabel, and just this amazing constellation of people. Alfred Cortot heard him, and you know, he checked all the right He checked all the right boxes, and then he wound up as an exile because when the Nazis came to power in Czechoslovakia, although he wasn't Jewish, his family fled. He left Czechoslovakia, and he wound up in the New World, whence he spent most of the rest of his career touring and playing in Europe and in the United States and, you know, the other parts of the planet. He did not go back to Czechoslovakia while it was under communist rule. That was sort of his thing. And for that reason, most of his work with Czech artists either happened outside of Czechoslovakia or after the fall of communism there. We are very lucky that late in his career, I think it was about 81 when he passed away, he was able to make a wonderful, wonderful constellation of recordings for RCA. Earlier, he had recorded for EMI and also for Columbia. There's a box, an 18 CD box of his stuff. And his Martinu also wrote his Fantasia and Toccata for Firkušny, who recorded it. He also recorded the premiere he gave the premiere and recorded Howard Hanson's piano concerto under Howard Hanson, and that's on Columbia. It's in the Firkušny box. He did a lot of work on behalf of the more attractive living composers, I think. Some very attractive living composers, among whom Martinu was at the time certainly one of the premier exemplars. Actually, one of the nice things about this series of, you know, they gave premieres and made recordings is that we're going to be talking about mostly 20th century music and wonderful 20th century music pieces that became part of the active repertoire. Now, these three concerti, numbers 2, 3, and 4 out of 5 and a bit more by Martinu. I mean, Martinu wrote 5 piano concertos, 1 concertino for piano and orchestra, and then a bunch of, you know, concerto grosso like concertante works for piano and orchestra, like the Sinfonietta Giacosa and the Sinfonietta La Jolla and all these lots and lots of things. Tons of music for piano and orchestra, but these are the formal concertos. They've been recorded quite a few times, actually, because they're marvelous works. But 2, 3, and 4 here show a wonderful progression in Martinu's art, which is fascinating, absolutely fascinating, in addition to being wonderful pieces in their own right. Number 2 is a neoclassical work, bright and perky and full of motoric rhythms. It's been compared to Prokofiev, for example, although it's less hard-edged, because Martinu was an elegant composer. He wasn't one to, you know, hit you in your face, the way Prokofiev enjoyed doing at times. So 2 is is scintillating and brilliant. And I had the great joy of seeing Firkušny perform it in Carnegie Hall because he recorded it twice. There's also another recording on Supraphone. I think it's a live recording, but it was one of his signature pieces. Number 3 is the biggest of the Martinu 5 piano concerti. It's the one that people call Brahmsian for reasons that totally elude me. It doesn't sound anything like Brahms, but it is a more romantic, symphonic, heavy kind of concerto, which is probably where Brahms comes in the style of the American symphonies, those kinds of things, because they come from different decades. I think they're from like the 20s, the 30s, and the 40s, or the 30s, the 40s, and the 50s, or something like that. Maybe the 30s, 40s, and 50s. But they are each very distinct. And the third is a dark and very well integrated between the piano and the orchestra kind of piece. And it's gorgeous. And I have tunes get stuck in your head. They're wonderfully melodic. But four is subtitled Incantations. Number four is one of those pieces. It's dedicated to Firkušny. I got to get the accent right. Firkušny. It's dedicated to him. It's one of the weirdest and most wonderful piano concerti ever. You probably will never see it live. Because first of all, it's only 18 minutes long. It's in 2 movements. It's totally phantasmagorical. It doesn't really have tunes. It has little motives. I mean, you can follow it easily enough because they're very distinct and they come back periodically. But wow, what an amazing piece of music it is. It's just this exotic and hypnotic and energetic and explosion of color and sonority and rhythm. And it's really an incredible piece. It's indescribable. You have to hear it. There's another marvelous performance on it conducted by Vladimir Ashkenazy, not performed by him. It's on Ondine. And of course, Naxos has a very fine series of the piano concertos, and Supraphone has a good set of the 5 piano concertos. But these, played by the dedicatee or the premierer guy, are special. Absolutely special performances, and they're on RCA, and they're just beautiful. They're still around. I've seen it available, and you can download it too. I mean, you can get it lots of ways, and you should hear them. My God, they're wonderful pieces, and we are so lucky that the guy who gave the premieres survived to make the recordings. So thanks for joining me, friends. Keep on listening, and take care.